Start that countdown.
You ready?
Yep. You sore too?
No, I'm not sore. Oh, wait, my cuffs.
Oh, no. Yep.
All right. Welcome to Big Things. I'm Mitzi. This is Mike.
And this is our show where we talk about the big things we're watching in marketing, social media, pop culture, and sports. And we talk about the signals that we're seeing that could influence the future of digital marketing.
That's right. Today we're going to be talking about three big things. First one is Set Active launched their blooper collection. YouTube creators are starting their own upfronts, the first one, and PepsiCo is acquiring Poppi for $1.95 billion.
Yeah, I feel like it's kind of like big meteor stories today, but
Yeah, it's not a show about nothing today, so you're in for a treat.
yeah, we've been in our Seinfeld era the last couple episodes. But
Yeah. But what else is going on?
Yeah, so before we get into the big things, I got a shout out to March Madness.
Right.
It's coming up. Everybody loves it, especially
Everybody
Drew,
loves it.
shaking his head over on the couch. But yeah, March Madness is fun. I think as a household, we enjoyed it a little more than usual last year because our kids started getting into it, especially our daughter. I think it was like kind of part of the moment with the women's side of the tournament getting more visibility. Mm-hmm. And I'm excited to see how that looks this year. One interesting thing that I noticed on X was that X just launched a bracket challenge, which is like how people participate in March Madness, kind of like fantasy football and stuff like that. But the grand prize, if you win the bracket challenge with the perfect bracket this year, is a trip to Mars on SpaceX.
Stop. I wouldn't even want to win that.
You wouldn't want to?
No, there's no way. I am not.
If someone looked you in the eye, if Elon Musk walked into this office and was like, "Hey, Mitzi, you've been selected to go on SpaceX
I would
to
not
Mars."
go. I'm sorry. I have no interest in going to space. Like, I can barely get on a roller coaster. The last thing I want to do is go to space with no
those
gravity.
are not the same thing.
They are, though. Like,
regardless of the trip and any turbulence or like what you'd feel in the process, like you have the opportunity to go to another planet.
I have no interest. I'm sorry. Is that supposed to be something that's really appealing? Because that is just not for me. Like, I don't get it.
Think of the amount of people in the world it's like since the existence of mankind that have gone to another planet. Like, that's such a short list.
I'd way rather go to like an island. But like, why would I want to go to another planet? I have no, like, cool. Like, space, it seems cool, but like,
we might live on Mars eventually.
We're not. You know what? If we need to live on Mars, I'll stay here. Like, I'm good. I'll just like.
That's classic you. That's Mitzi coded. That's like, if the world is ending, I give up.
No, like, I would way rather just like die in my air conditioning room on an island. You know?
Yeah.
That sounds way better than going to space.
If my conditions aren't perfectly ideal, I'd rather die.
And neutral temperature, your body's not shaking or weird. Like, I just know space doesn't interest me at all. That's what me and billionaires don't have in common. It's just like they're all so obsessed with going to space.
Well, that's because like the climate is changing and global conflict is escalating.
Yes, I understand, but I just don't think like leaving the planet is like for everyone, you know? I'm cool with it. If you need to go to Mars, feel free to take our kids. I'm good here.
All right. You would send your kids on SpaceX, but you wouldn't go?
I mean, if it's like that, or like if their survival is based on getting on a ship to Mars, then sure, go for it. But I don't know.
But you wouldn't go. You would stay. Everyone but you. Leave me behind.
No, not everyone but me. I know there's like a group of people who are not interested in going to space like me. And yeah, I'm not like built to be on a rocket. Like,
But you're built to be on an expiring planet.
It's okay. You're just taking it so extreme. I'm not interested in going to space. That's it.
All right. Fair enough. So you're not going to fill out a March Madness bracket?
I'm also not interested in March Madness brackets. So
this show is all about me so far and my interests.
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited for the women's basketball players, and that's about it.
All right. You want to take us into the first big thing?
Well, no, before I do, I wanted to give people an update on White Lotus and how horrible it was watching that episode. And I know I've been clowning on actors and acting as like a craft. I wanted to say that last night's episode did make me appreciate good acting.
Yeah.
because the most craziest stuff happened on that episode. And I don't want to spoil it for people, but
It was like the craziest stuff happened without anything happening.
totally. But I think Sam Rockwell, who is like I think he's a good actor. Like,
He
I do
is,
feel
yeah.
like no one else could deliver those lines with like conviction the way he did. And he was talking about some crazy stuff. So I do want to acknowledge, like, when I do see it done well, like
Yeah.
he did a good job last night in the craziest episode that I might not be watching the rest of the season because I feel like that was my limit for like stuff that I had to watch. It was such a crazy episode. So anyways, I think I'm going to wait till the season's done and I want to see spoilers cuz I'm nervous about some plot lines.
Yeah.
And then once I like
Take the edge off.
settle with the spoilers, then I'll watch the rest of the episode just to see what happens.
Makes sense. Yeah, I could go either way. I think it's kind of, to me, this whole season, even more than other seasons, but I feel like this is true for the first two seasons as well. It feels like a techno song. It just like, it's this constant build towards a crescendo that you think is about to hit, but the drop never happens.
Right.
And so it just feels like if you were to actually take away the interesting like camera work and the music and just put like normal music and normal camera angles on this show, there would be very little plot and it would be very boring. That's
Well,
my
I
take.
think it's meant to be boring because it's like all about character development until like the last few episodes. Because I
Yeah,
think
and
they
then
did
it all
that
just
last.
unravels.
Yeah,
Right.
it's like a show you have to commit to the whole season for.
Yeah. I'm comparing it to like what our experience watching Severance right now, or even Running Point, like two starkly different shows. But I just feel like a lot happens in each episode.
Yeah.
You're like chewing on it. You're trying to find like the hints and
I wouldn't say a lot happens in Severance. I think like I feel like for season 1, so we just got back into Severance. Season 1, I felt like nothing happened until the last episode. And then in the last episode, it makes you reevaluate everything else that happened all season. So it felt like nothing, but really
makes you realize how much has happened.
Yeah, but it's like nothing.
It's like, but it's kind of like a magic trick. Like there's like, when what meets the eye, it feels like not a lot is happening, but while you're being distracted with like the focal point, other things are happening.
No, I
and there's
feel like-
details and there's hints and there's Easter eggs and
Yeah, Severance, I'm not smart enough for Severance. Like I need like a side commentary like channel. So we've discovered that a lot of people on our team are really into Severance and they're like into Severance. Like they are figuring out all the like little Easter eggs and like theories, and I'm not watching this show the same way other people are watching it. Like it's intense.
it is.
I'm just like looking at it at face value. You know,
Yeah.
that's the way I like to watch television. So I feel like I'm trying to keep up with Severance, but I'm not catching everything.
Yeah, fair enough.
Someone else can explain it to me.
Yeah, or just like maybe you just need to, because I feel like one thing about you with watching TV is you've always been good at kind of like predicting the outcome. So maybe you just need to channel that energy of yours a little bit more to be like, I can't catch everything here, but I'm like trying to figure out the curveball or like the ironic twist at the end or whatever, you know, make some predictions, just
Yeah,
like
but-
work that muscle.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. I'm just like, it's so outside of like the thing that Severance treats you like you're a severed employee. You don't know the full story. You're
That's
in
true.
the show and that's like your Severance, like you're innie or whatever, or you're in an outie world and you don't see everything that needs to be seen, you know? So there's no way you can predict it.
Do you have any hot takes about it?
I don't know. Like not really. I just think it's like making a meal out of something. And I appreciate the like depth of thought, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of like, okay.
Yeah, fair enough.
The thing that I appreciate most about Severance though is there's no hints as to where it is in time. It's not like a like futuristic, like what's the word? When it's like could be in the future if things go bad. What's that word?
Apocalyptic.
Dystopian.
Oh, yeah.
It's not a dystopian like POV. It's like
It's present day.
but you don't even know if it's present day because some things make it feel like the technology is like a bit more advanced in present day, and then some things feel like it's dated, like all the cars, for example. So like I do appreciate the attention to detail, how it's like there's no hints as to when in time it is.
Yeah, it almost seems like it could be real cities, but it probably
Yeah.
isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, my hot take is I think Rickon, there's more to him than
boy.
meets the eye, the author. I feel like he's like somehow an evil mastermind in all of this.
Right. Same
And
with
he looks strangely like that Drummond guy that works at Lumen. He's like higher up. Wonder if there's a connection there.
yeah.
He
And
seems
they-
like this like harmless, kind of like goofy character that just is in his own world, but I feel like it's a facade.
Yeah, there's something to do with the goats. People are saying that like they're adding like goat brains into humans. Because that one chick, Rebecca, who was at that like reading,
Yeah.
and she was like, she smells weird. And then she was also saying like chewing really loudly. And also she was saying how she has like these like sores at the back of her neck because the birds were poking at them. That's what she said. That was her line.
Crazy.
And so they think like, you
Man.
know how like,
See what I mean? I missed that completely.
no, obviously, who would have caught that? Like, people are watching it. Like, I'm watching it for the plot, but some people are like, did you see that? Like, they're like taking screenshots of like small text or like it's just so.
I feel like I need to start the whole show over and like
No,
look for all these
please.
secrets.
I don't know. Just get into the Slack channel.
Yeah. Well, I am in the Slack
Oh
channel.
yeah, you are. But it's just so much. There's these TikToks that like break down every single detail. I started watching some and then I'm like, oh,
This is too much.
this is too much. What was the time?
Yeah. Then on the complete other side of the spectrum, we watched Running Point. We watched the whole season.
Loved it. More of that.
What's the actress's name?
Kate Hudson
Yeah.
and Mindy Kaling.
She's not in it.
No, but she's like the writer
Right.
and like producer.
Yeah. I love Jackie, the half brother.
Same. I
She's
love the
so
script of it. It's so funny.
We would watch Severance or White Lotus, and then we'd watch Running Point to like as a palate cleanser
For
before we
sure.
went to bed.
Well, anyways, I just like watching stuff that makes me happy right now. And I feel like Severance is so deep, but I'm into it. Like I'm here for the ride. Buckle up. Like, sure, I'll watch the TikToks and get all the theories. I might be over White Lotus.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I don't need it.
Yeah. Should we get into the other stuff we wanted to talk about?
Yeah. Set us up.
Okay, first thing one, Set Active launches a bloopers collection. So the activewear company launched a new collection, but oops, all the sizing is off. Rather than discard the entire collection, they're selling it at a steep discount. They launched a campaign with a collection that shows imperfect photography and some great resources for which items to size up or down in. I loved this. I saw this. I thought it really connected well to kind of one of the trends we've been watching all year, which is people want realness. So when everything, like all these launches that these brands are posting, they all are so polished and so perfect. And when everything is perfect, like it's so hard to stand out. And what I really loved about this campaign is that there's like a real like humanness and like messiness and imperfection. And it was a very polished campaign still. Like they had like beautiful photography and things like that, but they really leaned into like the oopsie side of it. So I thought it was really cool. And it's a really great example of this trend. And I love that it was called bloopers, which reminds me like, you know, we're all human. We all make mistakes. Like I really wish they'd bring back bloopers. Do you remember like when a movie was done and at the end they'd have like bloopers? Like those are so fun to watch.
The last time I really remember that from a movie was Hangover. They had like
Yes.
crazy bloopers at the end.
Yeah. Like I wish we could see some of that. And I will say like marketing campaigns, so many of them do a lot of BTS, like behind the scenes. And it still feels like there's like a storytelling aspect to it, which isn't bad. But I just feel like I wonder if we redirected that energy and did more like blooper style content, how that would perform.
With the intention of showing more of like the mess and the mistakes and like the chaos and not necessarily just like showing how cool it was.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I just feel like the energy of that would be really interesting. And like one of this trend is so exciting to me because I know that AI is just a big part of our life as marketers and content, and this trend really feels like it gives you permission to like be human and to be messy and to make mistakes, and that people actually want to see that. And that's why sports is having a moment, because it's so real. There's like, you see these players and these athletes perform and try and fail and lose and win. Like all of that is like what makes us human. So if we can like translate some of that into brand marketing, I think that would be awesome. And I feel like Set Active, this is like the first way I've seen a brand take that trend and like actually make a campaign out of it.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. I feel like, a lot of brands do sample sales, for example, where they've got a whole bunch of imperfect inventory that they want to move through to get it out of the way.
Right.
And it's an opportunity for people to buy it at a lower cost. But you never see a campaign around a sample sale. And so I totally agree. I think this was really cool. And it was still like a high effort, high production campaign in the sense of like a concept to delivery. But seeing it just taps into that feeling that consumers get, I think, when they recognize that like this is for them, even if they're not perfect too,
Yeah. And I think that consumers have more grace about that. Like, oh, the sizing's off, but it's at a discount. Yeah, no worries.
Right.
I don't mind that. It also reminds me like of, I think we talked about it on this show, the idea I had about doing like a digital museum of typos.
Yeah.
I think we need to do that.
Yeah, maybe. I think the only reason I didn't like the idea of it was because we were talking about like non-billable projects. But
right.
in terms of like the creative concept or the idea,
the idea is good, but yeah, maybe one day.
Yeah, one day.
Maybe someone can sponsor.
Maybe we need to just start collecting them as we see them, so
Yeah.
that if we get to a point where we feel like we want to actually do this, as whether it's like it could even be a campaign, then
Right. Or maybe someone needs to sponsor the idea of typos, like the Museum of Typos.
Yeah.
What would be a brand
Like
that would
the
benefit?
International Copywriters Association.
No,
or something
Grammarly.
Like Grammarly.
Grammarly needs to sponsor it.
Nice.
But then that might not work because they're trying to eliminate typos.
And Grammarly's AI. So it feels
Totally.
weird to have like an AI tool sponsoring this like
Got it.
human imperfection campaign.
I love creatives.
Sure.
I don't know if they have the cash.
No?
Well, I don't know, maybe.
Probably. It seems like they have a lot of cash. But yes, I want to see more of this from brands. I want to do more of this for the brands that we work with. Just like lean into things that don't go to plan and find a way to kind of spin out of it.
For
It's like
sure.
treating your brand like an athlete.
Huh. Cool. Like it. Sometimes you lose.
Sometimes you lose and you just turn it into a win.
One of my favorite things to say to you that really drives you crazy is sometimes you need to lose. And
When have you said that to me?
I've said that to you when you've seen like a team like the Super Bowl, and I'm like, you know what? Sometimes you need to lose. You need to like feel the loss in order to like.
I don't
drive
remember
the
this
win.
exact quote, but I will say that it does drive me nuts whenever I'm bummed out about something or something doesn't go my way, like competitively. You always love to come in with like a freaking inspirational quote, like just make this a teachable moment for my husband.
I do like to do that.
I'm like, I don't need this energy from you right now.
Yeah, well, like sometimes you need to lose in order to like.
Okay, I know
feel-
that. I lose more often than I'd like to admit.
The other thing I like to say to you when you lose in fantasy football is that at least you're winning in life, and and that honestly, I feel like that
That
slaps.
is so condescending.
What? I think that's so inspirational.
No, it's true. That doesn't, but the accuracy of the statement doesn't take away from how condescending it is. Like, I know fantasy football is a big joke. You don't have to freaking rub it in my face.
I know sometimes you'll like be so bummed and grumpy because you lost a fantasy football match, but you're losing against like guys who are like single, like wishing they were married. They're like not coming home to two beautiful children.
That's
so
what you think of all
it
the people that
helps
play
me.
fantasy football.
No, not all of them, but sometimes. So I feel like it must help to be like, you know what? At least you're winning in life. Like, look what you have.
It's true. It's true.
Look what you have.
I have a lot
Yeah.
to be thankful for. Yeah. I
Anyways.
just don't want you to tell me that when I've lost a game.
Good to know. It won't. I'll keep saying it. I think it's
You will. I know you will. You can't resist.
okay.
Thing 2, YouTube creators are hosting the first ever YouTube upfronts, which at first I was like, what is an upfront? Then I really quickly
Hello.
realized. So
The morning show.
I almost asked you, but then you would have had some like inspirational quote to let me know how lucky I am to have a wife that knows all of these things. But they're hosting their first ever YouTube upfronts. It involves a number of major YouTube creators who will host this event on March 27th with a firm called Spotter. It's a bid to lure marketing dollars away from traditional TV to more focus on creator-driven content. So creators like Mr. Beast, Dude Perfect, Ryan Trahan, Jordan Matter, and Colin and Samir are confirmed to participate. And it seems like Colin and Samir are going to play a bigger kind of like host role.
Love it.
In the process. They'll lead conversations with creators and will also produce the event alongside Spotter. More than 150 CMOs of major brands are expected to attend, that's a flex.
I know.
That they are able to just come out with this like first inaugural event and have that kind of attendance from like key decision makers. That shows the movement is already happening. But the cool thing to me is that at this event, it's not just kind of like a party to celebrate or to like tell these CMOs that creators are the way, but they're going to be using that opportunity to really pull back the curtain on analytics and like audience insights, but also like future show concepts that a lot of these big creators have already in the cooker to kind of give these brands early opportunity to participate or even to like take it to the next level, help scale it, buy like long-term rights for it, that kind of thing.
No, I love, 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 love this. I know that we've talked about this on the show that more people are watching YouTube now than traditional network television like Peacock and NBC and all that stuff. So upfronts, if you don't know, upfronts is like...
Sheesh.
Okay, if you're unfamiliar, upfronts is like an annual event that all like the networks host. So like NBC, ABC, all the like traditional television channels or networks will host this, and it'll be for their advertisers. And they'll basically do like a big like Apple like style event where they're having like all the actors of their shows, and they're going to announce like what their programming plans are. And so that way the advertisers have a chance to like start bidding and planning on like how they're going to funnel their ad dollars based on the programming. So this is like a YouTube version with creators, which I think is so brilliant because we know that creators and specifically YouTube is really owning the digital viewership space. Like they're getting more views than traditional network television is now. And so the fact that they're hosting an event and borrowing this like network style like event for advertisers is so smart because they're clearly like showing up, be like, hey, like there's stuff you can buy here too. Like you can buy against this programming. And I think what's more unique about it too, I'm sure YouTube hates this because YouTube is making money off of these creators and just inserting their own ads. But also they're allowing these advertisers and all these CMOs to be more strategic partners with these creators rather than just throwing in an ad. You know, and I know Colin and Samir, like I've been a huge fan of their show and like follow their podcasts and watch their stuff. They're really about like more integrated, innovative brand deals. Like they're not really into here's a script, talk about this product kind of thing. They're all about like integrating it into their like programming in a really unique way. So with like them being part of it, Mr. Beast, which is obviously like the king of YouTube, I feel like they're going to cook up some really interesting ways to integrate brands that's like more compelling than ads on television. So I'm super excited about this.
Yeah, that's an interesting point about YouTube not liking it. I feel like that makes sense. But I kind of like the idea of upsetting the social ad spectrum. You know, I think that needs to happen on Meta too.
Yeah.
These platforms just have such influence and power when it comes to what ads get served and where they get served and how they show up and all of the revenue from it. And they really gatekeep a lot of that from creators. I think YouTube is better for creators than other platforms, but I like the idea of brands and creators getting better aligned and like doing more integrated programming.
Yeah.
And specifically, it's good for creators, of course, but even also for brands, I think it's really interesting as a way to have more of a meaningful impact just from a messaging standpoint.
Yeah. And to be clear, I don't think this event means that marketers are going to spend less on Google ads or YouTube ads.
Right.
I think they're going to spend less on television ads, like their ads that they play on NBC or whatever. because they're going to invest it into creators. And like if I were the head of, I don't know, whatever big business that buys ads on NBC, I think I would really and Mr. Beast is coming and he's like, here's my programming for the next year. Here are my stats. Here are the people that like watch me and love me, and here's what I have planned. Do you want to be part of that? Like that's such a more strategic place to put your ad dollars than like an ad that shows up in between The Bachelor that like no one's watching anymore, you know? So I feel like YouTube probably like maybe YouTube supports this, but I think if you're advertising on YouTube, you probably are also buying like ads with creators on YouTube. You know, there's like two ad types. You've seen like this video sponsored by so and so. So you're like sponsoring videos, things like that. So it's just more like strategic and not necessarily taking away from YouTube, but more so taking away from network television.
Yeah, and it's also just kind of like maybe adding to the funnel a bit. Like if there's like a co-produced show between a brand and creator, that partnership can kind of be treated more as like top of funnel, but then the actual ads running on the platform before and after the content can be more like bottom funnel.
Yeah, which I don't know if you necessarily have control over specific shows as an advertiser to be in like the beginning of the show or the end of the show without being those like partners that are integrated into the programming.
Right.
Like the show that does a really good job with this is Hot Ones. Like they've done a good job of like the same programming. You're not sacrificing the show Hot Ones, but you are integrating brands, and brands have the opportunity to sponsor moments on the show and also the entire show.
And even products within the show.
For sure. Yeah. So I think like stuff like that is really interesting.
Me too.
Yeah, I'm excited for it.
Yeah, I just want to like be a fly on the wall for
I
this
know.
event.
I was like, I'm sure they're not going to televise this. I'm sure this like data is private, but I want to see it.
I'm sure there'll be media there that'll kind of digest some of the
someone leak it.
talking points. Leak it.
Okay, should we talk about the third thing?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll tee it up. So PepsiCo is acquiring the prebiotic soda brand Poppi for $1.95 billion with a B dollars.
Billy.
Crazy. PepsiCo is buying the prebiotic soda brand Poppi and expanding into the healthier soda category at a time when the company is battling failing demand for its traditional beverages and snacks. Duh. Like Pepsi's low-key sucks.
Well, I mean, you feel like Pepsi sucks, but like, I think this type of product in general is struggling. Like Pepsi's products, just like Coca-Cola's products, even though you personally like Diet Coke.
Well, no, I think objectively speaking, Diet Coke is thriving.
Well, I think it's not. I think all of these products are progressively seeing decreased demand because prices are going up. And that's the interesting thing here to me in this story before we get into all the details, is that I think for a long time people have continued to buy products like Coca-Cola or Pepsi because they're cheap. So you kind of justify the like health implications because it's cheap and enjoyable. But the fact that now with like the state of the economy and inflation and other factors, that now the costs are going up for these products as well, then now if it's like expensive and also bad for you, suddenly that makes your decision to cut it out of your life a lot easier. So I think Coke has already, and some others, like I think Dr. Pepper and some other kind of peers or competitors are already making plays into healthier options and like prebiotic sodas and that kind of thing. So I think Pepsi's just kind of jumping on board with Poppi.
Yeah, it makes sense. I feel like if I were them, they could either create their own version of like a prebiotic soda or just buy one. And it's like this, the marketing infrastructure exists, the like distribution exists. Like that's way better of a play.
Yeah.
I feel like what's really hot this year, or like has been hot, is like these prebiotic sodas that are healthier for you. They still like taste like you're having a soda, and then canned cocktails. That's like the move.
Yeah. It's interesting though, because it seems like the trajectory that a lot of these sodas are following that kind of start as a health drink that have gut health benefits seem to go through this like repositioning process to become more of like a flavor first soda. And then it actually truthfully isn't that healthy for you anymore either, even though their original positioning was that. And they kind of rely on people still perceiving them that way, even though they're actually truthfully more like Pepsi.
Totally.
You know?
Yeah.
But even Poppi in the last year faced some lawsuits from people saying that like it doesn't have the gut health benefits that you claim it does.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, what are your thoughts on this?
what are my thoughts? Well, I was reading a post on LinkedIn this morning actually, and this guy was kind of talking about the whole brand evolution of Poppi because it originally started by this husband and wife. It's your classic founder story, like the I think her name was Allison. Yeah, Allison Ellsworth. She just didn't like how like normal soda like Pepsi made her feel, so she started experimenting in her kitchen and like making her own with apple cider vinegar and stuff like that. And it tasted good, and then eventually they started this brand called Mother because it was based on kind of the properties of apple cider vinegar and like
Mother Nature.
yeah, but I'm blanking kombucha.
Right.
I was blanking on on the word. And they did pretty well, but then they really took off after they went on Shark Tank and they got an investor.
Love that.
From Shark Tank. But after that, with this new investor, that's when they kind of went through this whole repositioning process and they became more colorful. They rebranded to Poppi. It became more about flavor than about health benefits. And that's really when they took off. But they still have this perception around them that they're a health drink, you know? So this guy posted on LinkedIn about the story saying how amazing this like brand evolution was and how genius it was. But it's interesting to see the comments in some of those types of posts because most people like the perception in the market seems to be like, oh, this is just a copy of Olipop. You shouldn't be giving them all this credit, which is fair. But I think that the point that I see in all of that is not just that, okay, brand Y copied brand X. It's more that there is a gap in the beverage market.
Yeah.
And that gap can't just be filled by one.
Absolutely. It's just like if you have more than one like brand in this space, it just means that there's like a new category. Like
For sure. And I think too, it shows their story specifically, I think shows the power in execution and not just brand. Because I think so many people for so long have put so much weight on brand and kind of scoffed at execution, like scoffed at the need to put a lot of resources into a channel like TikTok or into their own original content or into influencers and creators because their brand is so amazing. But I think we live in the age now where brand isn't everything and it can't get you to the point you want it to get without execution.
100%.
So whether it looks like something else or not, or whether it tastes like something else or not, execution is the thing that's going to make the difference.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love that. That's a good take. I think obviously I think Poppi had a moment this Super Bowl. They actually had a lot of controversy. So, which we didn't talk about on this show because I don't know, I just thought it like came and went.
We also didn't get to record the week after the Super Bowl.
Right.
Yeah.
So okay, if you didn't see on TikTok, Poppi, which has always been like a creator, like accepting and like a brand that has sponsored creators, influencers, like they've been in the mix for a long time. They sent a bunch of creators these vending machines, these Poppi vending machines for hosting Super Bowl parties. And of course, like the influencers like posted about it. It was like during Super Bowl week. And like the types of videos like varied from like disbelief, I can't believe I have a Poppi vending machine. Some people were like hosting parties and showing like everyone at the party having them. And then there's some people on TikTok that were really upset about it because they felt like it was like so expensive and irresponsible to spend all this money when they could have been putting these Poppi vending machines in other places that were more deserving, like a hospital or like a school or whatever, which is like a valid complaint. But the thing that was like so annoying to me was that all these influencers, many of them shared that they just had this temporarily. It was like just for Super Bowl week. And it was like a stunt. Like there's lots of people, that's brands that spend money on stunts. Even like this like, and so anyways, on TikTok, people were like getting so upset about them and canceling Poppi and like, how could you spend money on like on these vending machines? And then Olipop got in the comments of one of these videos and said that these vending machines cost $25,000, or they liked or replied to one of the comments about the cost of these vending machines, which was not true. They cost way like less than half of that cost. Anyways, the founder went on TikTok. She shared like an explanation video because she had to. It was like such a huge controversy. And she basically was like, listen, like these were sent as a stunt for Super Bowl week, which is the biggest soda and snack week of the year. Like all these, like there's soda and snack brands that spend millions and millions and millions of dollars on Super Bowl week. Like Super Bowl commercials alone cost $8 million. And this is a small female founded brand that has always supported and like used influencers and spent money on influencers to market its brand. And I just felt like it was so undeserving for this brand specifically to get this kind of like spotlight for doing a stunt that so many other brands do all the time, especially during like Super Bowl week. So she explained that like these vending machines were sent there temporarily, and then afterwards they were going to be put in other places, in other distribution places like schools, like hospitals, and all of that. But this was just like for Super Bowl week, which like, I don't know. I was just so frustrated seeing all these people like being so righteous about like the money that was spent on all like on like Poppi, when like all the other brands are doing the exact same thing. They're just using influencers, which everyone says like this is like an important way to drive the influencer and creator economy too. And like it's a female funded brand. Like where is this energy? Like why is this energy there? You know?
Yeah, and like think about all the money that it costs to just have a Super Bowl commercial. Like
100%.
that's way more waste.
Uber Eats spent like they had like 3 Super Bowl commercials and then paid like so many celebrities to be in the Super Bowl commercials. So that's okay for them to do. Like it's just this like this line or like boundary of like wastefulness was just directed towards Poppi, which I felt was so unfair.
Yeah, for sure. I thought we were living in more of like a post-cancel culture era, but I guess there's folks like that still out there.
Well,
Just
I mean,
want to be mad at a brand.
she still sold her company for $1.95 billion. So she
It
came
all
out on
worked out
top.
in the end.
Yeah. Love to see it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's all I had for that one.
Sweet. Well, I'm excited
Anything
about
else
it.
from you?
I'm down for more of this, and I will be supporting Poppi over Olipop. And you know what? Absolutely. I love that we're in this space. Do you remember when like it was Pepsi versus Coke?
Yeah.
And I can't remember.
Is.
It still is. Yeah, but I can't remember what brand started those like. Was it a Coke or Pepsi challenge where they'd literally go into the streets and they'd have those glasses or cups of Pepsi and Coke, and you're supposed to like not see which one is which and like choose which one's better. And then they'd like do commercials around it. Like, and then there was also like Mac versus PC, or like Mac versus PC. I'm a Mac, I'm a PC.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing wrong with a little rivalry in these categories.
We love a good rivalry.
100%. So I'm not mad about like this kind of like head to head, which is better. You can prefer a brand not just because of how it tastes or looks or acts or functions or whatever. You can also choose it based on how it interacts as a brand in like these spaces. And because of that, I love Poppi. I love what Poppi's doing. I love it's a female founded brand.
But why do you choose Poppi over Olipop?
Because Olipop was getting in the comments and spreading misinformation. So that is a bad actor. And yeah, I'm into Poppi.
Okay, cool. Speaking of rivalries and soda and vending machines.
Oh, wow.
It reminds me of one of my favorite commercials in this whole Pepsi Coca-Cola feud. I think it's kind of old, but basically the commercial, I'm pretty sure it was a Pepsi commercial, and this kid walks up to a vending machine. It's like super hot outside and he just needs a drink. And there's like the buttons in a column, and you like have to press one and to get it to vend. So Coke was on the bottom half of the buttons and Pepsi products were on the top half. And so he goes and he buys a Coke, and it feels like it's a Coke ad, but instead of cracking it, he puts it on the ground and uses it as a step, and he steps up to and puts another dollar in and presses the Pepsi button, cracks the Pepsi and takes a sip, and it's like the moment, you know?
Love that.
And I'm like Team Coke over Team Pepsi, but that to me, even though it was a Pepsi ad, was like such a goated ad.
No, that is such a goated ad. I love that ad. You know what? I think people need to like chill out a little bit and accept the rivalry. Like, I think some of these videos that I watched about Poppi and like being so irresponsible and like this economy, like it's just like soda, and Poppi is not going to solve all the world's problems.
Yeah.
And like having a Poppi vending machine in, you know, like a certain community is amazing and wonderful, and they had plans to do that. So like chill. And also the thing that's so interesting, did you know in different countries you can have a deal with a country for a soda? Like in Chile, you can't have, I feel like it's Coke. It's only Coke products in the whole country.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you're indoctrinated into Diet Coke.
Okay, but I don't know for sure if it's Coke or Pepsi because I can't remember. But I know that like you can only have one.
I feel like you would remember if it was Pepsi, because when we went to Chile, you would have been like, this sucks.
And they did have Coca Light, so it's got to be Coke.
Coca Zero.
Coca Zero. Yeah, so I think that like I love the like rivalry. Like go after the places, be like a Poppi only state. Like imagine.
Yeah, good healthy competition. We're here for it.
What would the self-righteous Gen Zers think about that?
Wow. Are all Gen Zers self-righteous?
No.
Or are you just
Don't,
talking
you're
about
putting a certain genre of Gen Zers.
What would actors think about this? Their job is so easy. They must have opinions.
They must have opinions. Well,
I'm not going to speculate.
I shouldn't either.
Well, thank you for watching episode 22 of Big Things. You can catch it on YouTube or anywhere you get your podcasts. Check us out on Instagram or TikTok for a few clips, or send us a DM.
Yeah. And wait, shout out to that one person who went to YouTube and said, hey, I'm watching it on YouTube rather than listening to it.
I missed that. That happened?
Yeah, it happened.
Amazing.
I don't know your username. I'm sorry, but I appreciate you.
All right. We'll add the username to the show notes.
Sounds
Shout out
good.
to
Shout out
so-and-so.
to that person.
You're the GOAT. All right. Should I ring the gong?
If you must.
Smack the gong?
Good one.
I've been trying to go gentle just for your ears.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome.